Hello, hello, happy New Year, Stronger Through It community. This is Angie, and
Deanna.
yay. And we are launching this new segment titled Let's Talk About It. But before we do, Diana, I think we need to catch up. So, what you been up to, girl?
I mean, my biggest thing this year, towards the end of the year, is I recently got married in November. So,
I
it's
know, yay.
newlywed.
And you have a expanded family of puppies as well.
Yes, I have a total of five dogs, mom, and four puppies.
And you were like, the puppies came first. And then you
Yes,
were like, wait, this is too easy. So then she went and got herself a husband.
exactly. And
Yeah.
and I feel sorry for my husband. Shout out to him because he's the only guy in this house.
Oh my gosh, that's true. I forgot
Yep.
about that. Dang. So let's kick off our first topic today. For our listeners, we are going to be using this particular story from this show that I've been following for a few years now. It's called 90 Day Fiancé the Other Way. I came across this particular story, and we'll brief you on it in a few seconds here, but that really kind of prompted this idea of really having meaningful conversations around these lessons that I feel like sometimes we can try to learn through other people's experiences versus our very own. So, this particular story is from one of the recent episodes. It's the Chloe and Johnny story. And so, just a quick update. So, Chloe is this beautiful young woman from Boston. She goes on vacation to Aruba. She meets a tour guide on a pirate ship. And she falls in love with him. His name is Johnny. And so they keep this long distance, communication, and it gets romantic. And she starts to, kind of have these concerns as it relates to Johnny's fidelity, I guess. Some of the things that she starts to be concerned about includes, for example, this trip that he takes to Vegas. But I guess he's not truthful to her. So, anyway, she starts to kind of get concerned. And eventually they talk about kicking off their life together. And so she decides to move to Aruba. And that's where that other way comes in. And then, as she's in Aruba, she starts to come across these other concerns, including messages on his phone from other women, issues with him not being transparent about his location. So she goes down the path of like spying on him and find a way to control the situation. All right. So we can start from there. So today's title is Why Do Smart Women Sometimes Make Excuses for the Wrong Men? Diana, what are your thoughts?
To me, she comes from a background where it seems like her mother has given her everything.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that as a person she's independent. She
Hmm.
knows definitely that, if she makes a mistake, she has a huge support. I mean, because facts are her mom at this point is supporting her lifestyle and,
Yeah.
funding her lifestyle.
Yes. So the mom does, pretty much take care of her and I'm sure him to a certain extent when Chloe moves to Aruba. But then the mom, decides that she no longer wants to do that and she really wants to see her daughter kind of get on her feet, on her own, find her way. And so then we were just talking about this the other day. So then Chloe decides that she will just get married.
See, and to me, that's a sign of immaturity.
Hmm.
It's a sign of somebody who hasn't had a really tough life.
Hmm.
Um, Somebody that has always had someone else fix her problems. In a regular world where people have gone through hardships, even just trying to survive in everyday life, it that wouldn't necessarily be your solution.
Right. Right. That would be correct. So let's kind of go through some of the obvious reasons why smart women, or in this particular case, why Chloe, may be excusing Johnny's behavior. And, not to say that Johnny is a bad person, but I think. from what we've captured in, this story thus far, he doesn't seem to be completely on the same page as far as the commitment and kind of that long-term vision that Chloe seems to have. She seems to be kind of striving for this fairy tale relationship where he has led a lifestyle, had a lot of partying and a lot of friends, and and so he seems to be conflicted where he's at now and what he wants long term. So
And,
I would say
you know,
age is definitely one of key things in this situation, and I think you were mentioning the lack of experience, right?
yes. I mean, it's a lack of experience on both parties, big time. Because at the end of the day, while ages can matter, it's just really the perspective of each individual.
Hmm.
At this, from what I see from Johnny, is he wants to have the time of his life. And
Right.
while he does like her, he doesn't like her or love her enough to say, "You're the one and I want to be committed." I just don't see him like he by not any means is ready at all to settle down.
I think also sometimes we have this I can fix it mentality. And I don't know about you, but I can think of plenty of situations and just sometimes like relationships, especially early on where you want to kind of like hold on to the hope, right? And many times the person can have maybe led you to believe that they were the perfect man or the ideal man, or only to later find out that that wasn't the reality. But I think a lot of times we hold on to these fairy tales that really only live in our minds. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would definitely agree, but I would also have to add on to that we as individuals too, specifically when we're in love, and more so when we are inexperienced, we fall in love with the idea of what we want that person to be.
Yeah.
And we try so hard to
Yes.
mold
Oh
that
my
person to be
gosh.
that.
Oh my gosh, I agree with you. I think you summarized it perfectly. And I think some of it just our own natural inclination of being caretakers and problem
Mhm.
solvers, sometimes we misuse those gifts and
Yes.
apply them, in ways that are not constructive for ourselves.
It's not even ill-intentioned, it's
Right.
just the need to have that relationship survive because you're in love. I just sometimes feel that we end up falling in love with the relationship and not with the person. And
Dang.
so
OMG, yes.
we
Highlight that and add
excuse.
several exclamation marks to it. And I think that leads me to another point, right? Because I think that a genuine relationship takes time to develop. In this particular case, and a lot of times in a lot of situations that don't always lead down the long-term path, is that when we look at how Chloe and Johnny met, like she fell in love while she was on vacation, while she was on a
Oh.
pirate ship, like taking a tour. And something, captured her attention from Johnny, and
Mhm.
she labeled it immediately as love. And I'm not saying that love at first sight may not, exist. I'm just saying that it's important to establish a solid foundation, and that takes time.
And we have to also take into perspective of Johnny's side. Johnny most likely at that time was like, oh, this is just another vacationer to have fun with and pass the time. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he wasn't expecting to continue.
Mhm.
And I like overall, one wants the world and wants a lifetime, and the other one was like, I just thought this was going to be a good time. And now I feel some sort of way for Johnny because I feel that he also might be in a place where he might be like, I really like her. I think she's cool. I love
Right.
to spend time with her, but I also feel this pressure to stay with her
Yeah, maybe
because
he
I'm
doesn't
pretty
know,
sure.
like, he doesn't know how to break it to her, break
Yeah.
down the news.
And I think like he's, from the fights that they have, he at times he just seems very wary and at times
Mhm.
he's just very dismissive. And
Mhm.
I'm not excusing his behavior because sometimes the way he treats her, it's It's very unkind. Like, I feel like the feelings show through at times how he really feels about it, and like it causes that reaction to treat her that way. And maybe sometimes of the hopes that she'll kind of want to walk off, because when they do get back together, he's like, okay, yeah, sure. But there's
Yeah.
isn't really an excitement or a desire for him to get back with her.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe he's just conflicted with disappointing her, especially after, someone like moving across a whole nother country for you is a big deal. So there's just a couple more things that I wanted to touch upon. As a woman, sometimes we question ourselves, especially when it comes to our emotions. Don't want to be that girl that overreacts, especially, when you're confronted with maybe a challenge or someone's trustworthiness. I see some of that in Chloe and Johnny's situation. There's a dinner that Chloe has in Aruba with Johnny's friends, like girls that, he knows and they've known him for a long time. And in that conversation, these girls seem to have established a genuine relationship and care for Chloe. And in that conversation, they're warning her that Johnny is may not be ready to give up that bachelor lifestyle. And Chloe seems to be just not even faced with that information. She just doesn't want to be the one that overreacts. Like, she is not only trying to excuse it, but her demeanor just seems so definitely not, reacting emotionally.
Yeah, but I think the reason that is happening is because deep down inside, she already knows this information. This information is not new to her.
True.
It's just that it's a project that she literally wants to seek out, and she doesn't, I don't think she wants to come to the understanding that she's not going to change him.
Girl, I just went back to, a couple of my very own stories, but yes, you're right. Sometimes
Right.
we know the answers, we're just not ready to face them. I guess, looking back, when I see this particular story and just, there's so many other Chloe and Johnny stories out there,
Mhm.
knowing all that we know now, I feel for the time investment. I think when I look at that situation, my heart just goes out because I'm like, oh my gosh, Chloe, like you could be doing so much more, instead of
Yeah.
chasing a guy in Aruba.
Here's the thing too, like, yes, you can look at it as time lost, but you could also look at it another way. And it really depends on the person, but you can also look at it as a a learning experience
Yeah,
that took you time to understand. And if you actually sat back from that situation after it's over, and did your pros and cons, you would probably end up finding out what you don't want,
right.
and you could apply that to the next person. So I think in a way it counterbalances. Yes, there is time loss, but if you take the time to reflect, you also gain perspective.
Dang. I agree 1,000%. And I think, it's part of living and it's part of life. And hopefully you have a community around you, like the Stronger Through It community or other uplifting women that bring encouragement and wisdom especially I think, when we're at a younger age, because if we can learn those lessons, the sooner we learn them, the more we can save ourselves from going down longer, and harder lessons, I guess. Well, that was our very first Let's Talk About It segment. We hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we can't wait to chat about our next topic. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.